You know, if a woman goes out with a guy, she's got to worry about her safety. That's not something that a guy has to consider.
But when she goes out with the guy with the Lambo and who's really good looking, she also has to worry about her safety, but she doesn't care because he's good looking.
So I think that, okay.
What's happened, though, is because we got further and further away from a survival scenario, the equilibrium equals more women working. Because there was a point at which, like when we're in an agrarian society, like the 1850s, there's things men have to do. There's just because they're bigger and stronger, because they have to be able to provision and protect the tribe. There's things men had to do and women had to do because we were living hand to mouth. Today, because you can own a Glock and you can live in a high rise, right? And you can make $300,000 a year as a single woman.
Sure.
You may want, and you not needing these men causes there to be this imbalance where 68% of college graduates are female now. And so you have a bunch of men who are less educated, who are just not, so their families don't want them. They're not wanted by the opposite sex. They're not being educated. They're just not finding a place in the workforce either. And so you have these men who are like frustrated and don't know where to go and don't know who to blame. And so when you end up in that situation, you end up with all these women who are like, they don't need men, but then you go look at the cohort of these women over the age of 40 and they're deeply unhappy because they've been told don't have children or divorce is a victory or eat, pray, love.
I don't think that's what's happening, Michael. I don't. Like, I hear that being preached on the manosphere. That's not actually
No, forget manosphere. Cardi B. Like, just watch television.
Okay, that is not, you can't
watch
take,
the Barbie movie.
But you can't, I don't think I can stomach it.
But the Barbie movie is the Barbie movie is the number one movie in America.
You can't take those kinds of things. Okay, just because it's the number one movie doesn't mean that it's reflective of the female gender.
No, it's reflective of what is being preached to the female gender.
Fair enough. Okay, that is fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think that like when you look at like these, I lost my train of thought. I was going somewhere with it. When you go back to like hypergamy, right?
Yeah.
Where you're hearing things like women date across and only up,
yes.
right? That is not actually what's going on. Now, it might be ideal. It might be what, if you poll somebody, they would report, right? But what reporting looks like doesn't actually, isn't actually reflective of what plays out. These are what I would like to see happen.
I think if it's big enough, it does. So like, for instance, if you take all of Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge.
Look at all these bottle girls out here that are taking care of their men. I'm sorry, that totally contradicts hypergamy.
It doesn't contradict hypergamy.
Of course it does.
But those men have something going for them. It's just not money.
No.
It's just not money.
Okay. If hypergamy, I was under the understanding that it meant she is going to date her equal or above her equal. So if he's not bringing in that money, then how is he her equal?
So he's taller than her, he's stronger than her, he's good looking in her mind.
Then wouldn't that just be like a Chad?
Yeah, but a Chad is also above as far as hypergamy is concerned. So here's the thing, when it comes to that, the reason why we believe what we believe is because when you look at Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, the top 10% of men on Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge are getting 63% of the right swipes. The top 20% of men are getting 83% of the right swipes.
That's because women are more selective and a guy will just bang anything.
Right, no, but it doesn't matter.
But that's not, it does matter. Context matters.
No, what I'm saying is there should be a normal distribution then. If women are selective, there still should be a normal distribution. There is no normal distribution. Women find 80% of men to be unattractive. That's not selective. That's just like to the point of like delusion. 80% of men can't be unattractive.
Here's something that I don't hear people say. I don't think that that's really representative of how they're picking. Look, when a woman is, let's say she's online, okay, and she's swiping, there are things that she has to consider that a man doesn't. For example, if I actually meet up with this person, is he going to sexually harass me? Is he going to give me a pick? Am I going to be safe with him? She's taking that into account, which is going to not make it so equally distribute. Like a guy doesn't ever have to consider that. I don't want to say ever, but like that influences how she's picking and how she's swiping.
For sure, but she's still picking the wealthier, good-looking guy who still might send her a pick and still may sexually harass her. It doesn't change anything. She's only picking because of clear signs of status that she can see, which then proves hypergamy. That's the reason. If there was no hypergamy, you would see a normal distribution. So, for instance, for men, the top 63% of right swipes go to the top 43% of men. Remember, top 10% of men, the top 43% of women. So that means men see hot women as hot, medium women as medium, and unattractive women as unattractive because men are selective. They're not as selective as women, but they are selective. When it comes to women, it's 80% of men they find unattractive. And then when these women date these men at the top, then they complain he is a narcissist because he has so many options with women. But the problem is that's the way women stratify men. You are unattractive or you are garbage. And this is what I found personally. My clients, if they don't do things that make them relevant and competent, it's not that they're like 50% solution. They're either at 100% solution to women or they're zero. They have no chance at all. And so that's the reason why. And it's not because women are inherently delusional. It's just Dunbar's number. Human beings are made to be around 150 people, but we're around 150 million people, and because we can see them all on social media. And so we have this problem of choice. It's every guy with the Ferrari and the six-pack who's cute and has a picture on the beach with his girlfriend. Like, women are comparing themselves or their relationships to every one of those ones that they see, and then they look at the men that are in their life, and those men are always going to fall short. There's no way that they're not going to fall short. Men do the same thing, but men are less selective, and men find more women to be attractive as a total population of women than women find men to be attractive. And so because of that, you end up with this situation where, like, when I was 22, I couldn't find a date, and now I'm 45 and I'm successful, and like my girlfriend's incredible, but like before that I couldn't believe how many more women wanted to date me when I was 45 and I made money. It was crazy. Like, so from my standpoint, I can't refuse to not believe hypergamy is real.
Like,
it is real.
Look, I'm not saying that it's inherently false or that there isn't some value or some truth to it, but it's an oversimplification of how women pick.
No, it's an oversimplification if it's black or white. It's a statistic. Like, I didn't say 100% of men.
It's not all about stats and facts. Like, I know that you guys are real heavy on that, but it's not. It's way more. That's way more goes into it than that. And I think that there are other things that you guys should at least consider as far as how women pick. Because look, regardless of whether the guy is tall, broke, or whatever, there are a lot of women out here taking care of their men.
Yes, and those men are good looking.
But not all of them.
They're good looking, or they're funny, or they're drug dealers, or they're talented, or something.
If that's the case, Michael.
Yes.
Then guys do the exact same thing.
No one's complaining or saying that they don't.
Then guys are hypergamous as well. Sure, I could use that same. I could use that same logic and say guys are also hypergamous.
It's gyno. I forgot what it's called. It's not hypergamous. It's hypogynous. I think that's what the time is. No,
for
of course.
Guys, is that what it's called?
Yeah, for sure. Because what will happen is, as men become wealthier, the difference in age between them and their partner actually increases. Do you know this? There's studies that show this. So, like, as men get older, this is from Inuit Indians, and this is Russian men, European men, American men. As men become wealthier and more high status, the difference between them and their wives' age actually increases. They get younger and younger women. So the idea of a man growing older with a woman, they get into their 40s, he divorces her and then gets another woman, that would be the thing that you're talking about. I'm not saying men don't do that. Of course they do. They do. Yeah. But the thing is, men are hardly filing for divorce. If 20% of divorces are filed by men and 80% are filed by women, men are in a situation where, like, are they more likely to cheat? Yes, but they're less likely to leave their wife. And they're less likely to, like, leave their family, far less likely to leave their family than women are.
I just see so many contradictions to hypergamy, and you did give some. Look, you gave some good examples of different ways to view hypergamy, right? Than just financially, which is helpful for me.
Yeah.
But I do think that there are other, like, these stats that are reporting, they're mainly getting from Tinder.
No. These are different ones. Dr. Buss, he does the different one. The Tinder one, the reason why we use the Tinder one is because it's the biggest one. The Tinder one is millions and millions of people.
Right. And so it's relevant. But that is the one that Fresh and Fit referenced that one. Like, I've heard other people in the manosphere reference that stat. That's why I brought that up, because it was used. So I'm using that stat so that the viewers have a sense for why this is happening and how these things are, because the framework is important for me to create. Okay. Look, women, this is not a reflection of hypergamy because women are swiping more. There are other things that you have to take into account, okay? And that could be, if a woman goes out with a guy, she's got to worry about her safety. That's not something that a guy has to consider. So that's not just about hypergamy. That's about safety. And so these kinds of things influence those stats.
Right, but when she goes out with the guy with the Lambo and who's really good looking, she also has to worry about her safety, but she doesn't care because he's good looking.
So I think that, so on to that point,
she takes Molly and does coke and goes to Ibiza with the good-looking guy. She goes to Dubai with the good-looking guy.
You're gonna like this, okay? Yes, when there is incentives, you're more likely to excuse that behavior, right? You're more likely to justify.
Burning Man is fucking dangerous. Do you know how many girls went to Burning Man with fucking strangers and stayed in their RV?
Look, I agree, Michael, but still, what I'm trying to do, like, I agree with a lot of your points, actually, and I don't disagree with Red Pill entirely. Yeah. But there are these little falsehoods and these little things that I think
here's where we can find a balance. When I say 83% of the time women fall in love with their fair partners, the part we forget is that 17% of the time they don't. 17% of the time they were just looking to fuck a hot guy. That's the part you're missing. Like when you're saying
I'm not missing
I'm
that
saying, I'm sorry.
part.
I'm not saying you're not missing it. That's the part that's being missed. It's like statistics does count for everyone. The part when I say 80% or 80% of men are deemed unattractive on Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, there are women who find those men
there's
attractive.
value in it's not necessarily how things play out. Okay, just because they're reporting that yes, I would go out with this guy doesn't mean they actually do. Yes, I would like a woman that looks like this doesn't mean they actually do.
Oh, sure.
There are factors that is why you need to question it.
But the reason, the purpose of using that stat is to say, what do women inherently find attractive?
That's fair enough. And see, I don't actually disagree with that point, okay? I don't actually disagree that there's value and validity in what they're reporting. I don't question that. But is it how things actually play out? Because I will tell you, here's a good example. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I work with couples, relationships all the time, right? I will have a guy come to me that says, I don't want to date a girl with kids.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what he would report on that self-report. That's what that Tinder stat
and
would say.
I'll tell you, there's two huge red pill guys who are saying the same thing, and they're both dating girls with kids.
Boom.
Of course.
Boom. Okay, this is why those stats should be questioned. Because if I was pulling a Tinder report, okay, it would say, I don't want a girl with kids. And then that goes into the self-report. And then this is what red pill pushes out, right? But then I get those people in my office, okay, and they're dating the girl with the kids.
Sure, of course.
Okay, that's why you question the stats.
But so that also, when you deal with that also has to do with men like saying that they have certain boundaries when they don't have them. Because men generally...
Well, men lie.
Well, it's not just
not necessarily.
It's not that men lie. It's like this. You say, I would not eat pickles until you're starving. Then you're going to eat whatever's in front of you. And if 26% of men under the age of 30 are virgins, they have no sex at all. And something like we're getting into the mid 30s of men who have had zero sexual partners in the last year. And they're like, I won't date a woman with kids. Motherfucker, they'll date anything with anything. They'll date a woman who used to be a man at this point. Like that's what we're getting to. So that's why what you're saying is it's not comparable. But with the whole Tinder, Bumble, Hinge thing is
what
just...
I'm saying is 100% comparable. It's absolutely comparable.
What do you mean?
Like, are you saying that the example that I gave doesn't make sense?
No, it makes sense. What I'm saying is what'll happen is those are outliers. What'll happen is if it was 50-50, then you can make your argument. But because it's 80-20, even if I'm 20% wrong, I'm still pretty right. That's the reason. So what my point is, even if I'm wrong, even if I'm 50% wrong, I'm still right because most women find most men unattractive. That's the whole point.
Well,
and that's still valid.
It is, and I've actually agreed with you on that. Okay, what I'm trying to show is a different side, how things actually play out, and why you should actually question these things.
Question everything.
So, we'll put a pin in this one.
Okay.